Good evening and welcome to Face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Hettiarachchie. My guest tonight is Mr. Rohana Hettiarachchie, the well-known Executive Director of PAFREL and certainly no stranger to our viewers. Good evening and welcome, Rohana.
Good evening, Niresh.
Right. So, of course, there's no election on the horizon yet, but we thought we'd discuss what we learned from the last 3 elections, what more needs to be done to strengthen democracy in our country, because for many years democracy was equated with violence. But fortunately, the last 3 elections were quite peaceful, relatively speaking, but a lot more needs to be done. The lack of violence does not make for a perfect election and a perfect electoral process. So, Rohana, broadly speaking, what issues have you pinpointed as an election monitoring organization? What are the key issues that you see, the lacunas in the law as well, and the powers of the Elections Commission?
Well, actually, I'm happy to highlight what you said repeatedly because first, if you look back our previous elections, the recent elections, I'm not talking about only last 3 elections, the violence of course reduced drastically during last, let's say, at least 10-15 years, it's gradually, and elections was more towards free fair conditions, but still there are few more areas where we need to improve. Immediate elections which we had, presidential, parliamentary and the local elections, there are some specific areas also. Now misuse of government resources and government power, one of the largest issue other than the violence, but it also came some sort of acceptable level in the last elections, last parliamentary elections. Presidential elections, of course, it was quite high. Local elections also, we didn't see any organized misusing the government resources. I mean, there were some couple of individual cases, but in large scale we have not seen government or organizedly use the government resources. But the last local elections, Niresh, that we have identified in Sri Lankan history, the large number of nominations were rejected. That is one of the critical area where we need to address, because at least I think 2/3 of local authorities out of 341, we have analyzed the data, 266 local authority, at least one nomination were rejected, and large number of case also filed during that period. So that is one area where
so why is that, Rohana? Is it because of a complex nomination paper? What is it that this time in particular resulted in so many nominations being rejected, which of course then leads to court cases?
Partly it's true, it's little complicated, but there are some communications gap between the political party and the elections commission, actually elections commissions and political party, the other way around, because these elections especially for women's and youth quota were there, so the political party or independent group has to submit a lot of confirmations document, birth certificates and some other documents. So there were some communications gap between the party and the elections commissions, but law was quite clear. Then again, political party also face some practical administrative issues to identify their candidate, because they were managed to get their candidate only on the last minute. So practical issues also were there during these elections. And I think in certain, I mean, we can't say it's directly, but what we understood was that legal framework also in certain areas need to be revisit. For example, now the certified birth certificates, that was one of the major issue. Generally the certified copies for any document, any government document, we generally accepted the sign by the lawyer, notary, lawyer, whoever, or senior government officers with their seals or whatever. But in this case, it has to sign by additional district registrar. So it is very specific. So general public and some political parties misunderstand that, and that also one of the area. And again, the people were not able to properly document or their nomination papers signed by the relevant party secretary, certified by someone authorized person, the signature certifications, and some places candidate were not signed, some places they have not complete this quota, some places they have marked in the women's quota and the youth quota in under the different names. So due to those reasons, nomination were rejected. So that has to be addressed before next local elections. Then again, you asked about the related to elections commissions also. The elections commissions financial independency, one of the area where we need to address, because local elections, even though we had in last May, it was due in 2022. It delayed almost 2 years, 2.5 years, mainly because the elections commissions doesn't have the financial independency. They were prepared to go for a local elections, but they couldn't do it. I mean, they called the nominations also. They prepared everything, but finally the government did not release the resources. So that means without whatever independency which we call, without financial independency, elections commissions can't run the elections according to their agenda.
I believe there was a Supreme Court judgment on this.
Exactly. Now the election commission has to go with the ruling party agenda. That was our experience. And the other area, this campaign finance. I'm happy that as a organization, as a citizens of the country, we managed to bring this campaign finance law. But there are a lot of issues we have identified with the existing law now. There is no monitoring mechanism from the elections commission side or any other specific government authority, and the elections commission doesn't have legal framework to take some legal actions those who violate the law. It has to go through the police again, police, attorney departments, in a completely different stakeholders. But the elections commission should be the authorized agency to deal with this. And this is really important because the elections, the one critical area is equal playing field. So the campaign finance ceiling is really important any of these elections. Otherwise it create an environment or advantage the political party and the candidate, those who have financial power. It has happened in the previous local elections. I think that you all can remember, I mean citizens also can remember that Monragala Madurakatiya Pradeshiya Sabha, Monragala Pradeshiya Sabha Madurakatiya ward, one candidate spent around 40 million rupees. So one family got around 20,000 to 30,000 during that elections. Actually, he has given electricity connections, water connections. That's kind of vote buying, the situations like
Absolutely.
that. So, the campaign finance, even though we do have a law now, there are a lot of areas where we need to improve in that side. And then again, in generally, that is some specific for local elections also. In generally, we don't have a elections calendar, which we are thinking to have a discussions with elections commission and the government on that topic. And the advance voting, actually it's not advance voting, it's alternative voting mechanism. Those people who have not got a chance to go to their specific polling stations on the polling day. I think people like you, people like me, and some remand prisoners, doctors, I mean the health sector people, transport people, private security agencies, some garment factories sometime, they can't, because of their duty, they may not able to go to their specific polling stations on the polling day. So, we need to have a mechanism for them to facilitate their voting right. It can be either same day in the different places, it can be early voting or advanced voting, it can be e-voting, it can be mobile voting. I mean there are many, I mean we have experience in even in our regions, there are many mechanisms which they use. So, we need to introduce some alternative voting mechanism for those people. There are about 500 to 1 million people inside the country. So, we need to address this immediately. And there are 2.5 million to 3 million. There is no, that is the sad part, there is no specific exact data for us, but roughly about 2.5 to 3 million overseas voting also. The people, especially the Middle East countries, I mean a lot of our ladies, they go as housemaids or unskilled laborers, but they are the people who really bring the money here, the dollar here, but we are unable to assist them to mark their ballot.
Now let's take each of these issues, and then there's a lot of issues that you have laid out, which of course the Elections Commission is obviously aware of all these issues. The government is aware, opposition parties are aware, so there should be some urgency to get these things sorted out. But we don't see or hear of this. Perhaps things are going on behind the scenes, but we don't actually see or hear much about this. Now each of these issues, Rohana, seems to be absurdly simple, where these are all practical issues. So, if you basically take the birth certificates, I mean the fact that our candidates can't get that right means that there is a big gap in communication there, because we all know how to get our birth certificate certified, because we have to do it whenever, if you're in school, if you need to run an athletics race, you have to produce a certified birth certificate for O levels, for A levels, for everything. So that is something we are used to doing. So the fact that birth certificates are a reason for candidates to be rejected is quite practically absurd, and that should be sorted out very, very quickly, because clearly there is a gap in communication. Otherwise, this shouldn't have happened, not in this day and age. And also, Rohana, what about digitalization? Because now with the government's digitalization program, a lot of things will be up there online for these authorities like the Elections Commission to access. So, isn't that, I mean, rather than having this birth certificate confusion, isn't digitalization part of this? Do we still have to continue getting somebody to testify that yes, this is the correct birth certificate? I mean, it's
exactly. I'm happy that you raised that questions, because the present government is quite serious to go with this technology, e-governance. But unfortunately, so far, for a simple example, we were not able to manage this birth registrations, voter registrations, with the simple digital platform. Many countries, they use this birth registration for voter registration as well. But still we do every year. But now due to COVID, I think we were the elections commissions prepared to go with some base registry, but still it has not completed. So we if we use this digital platform, I think 50% of this problem will sort out. I'm happy that yesterday my son went for driving license. He told me that all these the exams done through the computers, and there's no physical papers. So I think these nominations also, there should be a system where you can upload your nominations. You don't want to go physically. For example, now let's say the income and expenditure report for these elections, for the local elections. First time the campaign finance, part of the campaign finance regulations, the elections commission opened for candidate to submit their reports through online. The same thing we can use for nominations also sometime. I mean, we need to have a advanced technology for that, and candidate and the political parties also need to aware those things. I think it will become step by, I think we can change that step by step. That is one of the long standing solutions for many of these problems, not only the elections and the government related, but unfortunately still we are reluctant to use this technology.
But Rohana, the fact that we are still doing this manual system means that there is still an enormous cost, because when you have a manual system where bits of paper and a huge amount of paper is required, and then you need people like the Gram Nilari has to fill out the forms, and so many forms to fill out. That's expensive. That takes a lot of time of government officials. So I mean, it seems imperative to get this sorted out and digitalized.
Of course, it's environment friendly if we introduce this technology, and cost effective, and it will lease these human errors also. I mean, if we can set up that system here, but unfortunately so far, for a simple example, if you use your debit card or credit card for pay something, you have to pay extra amount, or you may not get this what do you call this they are, I mean, if you buy a certain amount of something beyond certain amount of money, the shops will give some credit for so those things will lose if you use the credit card. Only the shops also welcoming the cash. So I think we need to change this culture. The government itself can introduce the system, but there should be parallelly, there should be a system to build the trust among the public, because public don't trust this electronic system. Basically, I have my own experience in PAFRL in several years back. Maybe I can't remember, it's more than 10 years back, when we tried to introduce or transfer the salaries of a staff to their bank account. Some people were not happy to do that. So they wanted to get the check in their hand, and they were happy to go by themselves. Then they have to at least use a taxi or a three-wheeler or whatever to go to the bank, and they have to spend a little time there, be in a queue. But they were happy to do it. They don't want to get the money through the transfer system.
And plus it takes 24 hours for a check to realize, unless it's the same bank.
But what I'm trying to say, now it has changed. I think most of the I think almost all the private sector now using this system. So it takes time. So it will strengthen the democracy also. That's our main point. So the electoral systems, election system. Now, for example, the recent elections which we observe in Philippines, even myself and the chairman of the Elections Commission also, CG, they all were there. E-voting facility, the overseas voters. There are about 10 million voters were registered outside the country.
There are an enormous number of Filipinos who are working in the Middle East and other countries.
Yeah. So the countries like Philippines and Sri Lanka is not much difference. The Bangladesh and other regional countries. So they use this technology. I think it's high time for us to consider this technology for elections as well.
I'd like to get back to that particular point that you made about the overseas Sri Lankans overseas, who are mainly in the Middle East, and as you mentioned, they are the ones who have gone out there. They've taken a risk. They're sending back this invaluable foreign exchange, but we don't seem to care about their right to vote. And it's I think a lack of caring. If the Philippines can do it, for goodness sake, why haven't we? So it is a lack of caring about these people by successive governments, by political parties, and of course one wonders why the Commission has not driven this. When you see it happening around the world in other countries. So this is not, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. We can just figure out, okay, how is the Philippines doing it? And we have heard various arguments against this. Rohana, we were told that there's scope for fraud, because if people have to come to the embassy to vote and so on. But if the Philippines has found a system which is enabling 10 million of their people to vote, then certainly we have about 2.5 to 3 million people out there. So it's their right, isn't it?
Certainly. I think as you correctly mentioned, we also raised this issue in some time back, because
no, I think you raise the issue every election.
I'm talking about this the challenges once you introduce this overseas voting mechanism. It can be misconduct.
But it's like introducing cars to our road. I mean, of course, people will start speeding, so but then you can't not introduce the car.
That also that was argument in the past. But as you correctly said, there are like-minded countries in Philippines, Bangladesh, Thailand. There are many countries. They have mechanism to for inside in-country voting and outside the country voting. We have done a small survey on this matter. We have identified the rough numbers around, as I mentioned earlier, also 2.5 to 3 million, and most of them are based in 6-7 countries, Middle East countries. So that means one country roughly about 400,000 to 500,000 workers. So easily we can manage in that way because it has not spread across the world. Only
exactly. I mean, there are 193 countries in the world,
yeah,
and who are UN members. You don't have to facilitate this in in Bolivia and Paraguay and Angola and all that. You can just pick the perhaps half a dozen or a dozen countries.
Yeah. Now the last two cabinet, not the present government, the previous government, because we have been lobbying this so many years now, actually decades. The Elections Commission also realized this is important because they also get exposed with other countries and they seen by themselves. So the cabinet has passed 2 cabinet papers. They have drafted the legal framework also, but that is only for inside the country. So now we are lobbying for present government. Actually, what we are trying to do, Niresh, because I have been list out so many reforms. We have list out from early 2000 up to now more than 100 reforms proposals or rather recommendations we have collected made by different parties, Commonwealth, EU, ANFRL, PAFRL, CMEV, CAFE, I mean our own people. Now we are going to I had a discussions with the chairman of the Elections Commission last Friday, how we are going to push these recommendations with this present government, because the present government do have 2/3 majority, so easily they can pass it in the parliament. So what we are trying to do with the Elections Commission now, we are going to list out all the recommendations and we will prioritize with the political party representatives. I mean, we are collectively, Elections Commission and PAFRL will facilitate that meeting. That's our plan for hopefully by next month. Then we will get the consent from the ruling party as well as the other political parties, cross parties, those who are represent parliament, prioritize these. So this is one of the critical area and most priority issue, this advanced voting or rather alternative voting for overseas and in-country people. So we will list out this and we will prioritize and we will push the government within the next 4 years. We have a 4 years window. I mean, in between we may have a provincial council elections. That's I don't think that we can address those issues before the provincial elections, but I am sure next presidential elections we have 4 years. So at least half of these practical issues we can address. Some cases actually without changing the legal framework we can resolve the problem, but some areas where we need to change the legal framework also. So this government, if we manage to convince them, this government can do it. I think that is their responsibility.
Absolutely. Rohana, we need to take a short commercial break, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
GDP around $30,000 billions, 30,000, but in Sri Lankan context we are just only 80 billions.
And one of the economic principle also say with the trade everybody better off.
Now, why he has reduced 44 to 30? That's what my point is all about, right? He's not playing kind of a trade game with us.
Now only the government, we are seeing that the provincial council election has completed and the people are appointed, but now only the infrastructure projects are being, the money is being deployed.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
කල්පනා කරනවා තිබා අපි කොහොමද ඩීල් එක වෙන ප්ලේස් එකයි තැනයි වාගත්තේ කියලා.
මං හිතුවේම උන් දෝනිය වාහනේ දාගෙන යයි කියලා.
ඊට පස්සේ දෝනිව අපිට කලින් ජෝනට වැඩේ මීටර් වෙලා දිනවා. ඒකනේ බං කාර් එක හරවගෙන ගියේ. පණ යන්න.
Rocky Chapter 2 හෙට රාත්‍රී 8ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm with Rohana Hettiarachchie, Executive Director of PAFREL. Now, Rohana, let's take a look at campaign finance, which you briefly mentioned. One of the glaring issues which we discovered during the last 3 elections is, although the candidates have to declare their income and expenditure where campaigns are concerned, this comes too late. During the campaign, there is no way that the public can get to know how much money has been raised, been spent, who has made the donations, which is the most important thing. If a particular candidate is being funded by a particular company or an NGO or a group of citizens, then we need to know before we actually go and vote for that person. So there's a glaring lacuna there, and once again, digitalization is the key area, and there seems to be just such a delay in digitalization, which doesn't make sense because many years ago we received the ability to check our whether we had actually been registered each year. You just go to the Election Commission website, you put in your NIC number and your district, and there you go. Have I been registered or not? Has the Grama Nilari made a mistake or not? And then you have that window in which you can appeal and register. So it's very simple. But that happened many years ago, but since then we haven't moved to digitalization. So is it so complex to actually get those campaign finances up on a platform during the election campaign in real time?
I don't think it's a complex, because this, as this advanced voting or rather alternative voting, we have enough experience on this also. Across the world, these digitalizations. So it is not complex. I think we can take the relevant example for us. Not maybe the developed countries, but there are developing countries also using this platform. So we can take some example and we can localize for our context. And the campaign finance, you correctly said, this legal framework guide political party or direct political party to submit just report after the elections. And what they do is basically, so they will match with the ceiling amount, and whatever they earn or raise, they will match with that. Expenditure report also match with that. End of the day, they hand over to the elections commission.
They are basically cooking the books.
Exactly.
Because they have to give a report post-election.
Exactly.
Whereas if they have to do it while the campaign is going on, every day upload saying, I've received so many donations, and at the same time, I have spent so much today, then we know exactly what's happening.
Actually, the original draft which we brought up in 2016, we had we include those things. Actually, in our draft, we clearly identified the limitations where you can get one individual. Now, for this case, you can get any amount from any institutions. There are only you can't get the money from the government institutions, you can't get the money from other countries. There are only some limitations, but even one individual can cover the entire expenses. So, but in our draft we said that okay, you can obtain maximum 5% from one individual. And also we propose, if you are going to contest, if you want to be a candidate, you have to have a separate bank account. So in this case there is no separate bank account. So at the end of the day they can say whatever they want, there is no mechanism to check also. So we should have a separate bank account. We should have limitations to get the money also. And also it should be upload, as you said, it should be upload then and there. And then people, before you mark your ballot, we need to know whether our presidential candidate get the money from illegal source, whether he's got the money from some other countries, some other the business where we are not respect, or we are not happy. So we need to know in advance before mark my ballot paper.
Absolutely. And so, it's not just presidential. I mean, even for your Pradesh Sabha, you have a right to know if the local bar owner or the hardware shop is financing a particular candidate.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. But the presidential election is most important because he or she will be the leader of the country. All the policy decisions, all the administrative decisions, everything depend on his positions. So the presidential elections is really critically important. Parliamentary, the next level, they are the lawmakers, they are the people who manage our resources, the finance. The local level, it's little difference, but I agree. So each level, each candidate should declare their income and expenditure then and there. And then what will happen is, then once you publicize your report, it will guide you in between. Now we are going beyond your limitation, that's one thing. And the most important thing is, then you can't make any extra expenditure because it has already you publicize through your website. Yes. Because now, so whatever the expenses they have done, end of the elections, they can balance it. Yes. Nobody knows, nobody aware. So they can balance it properly. So that is one of the area where we need to improve or rather change the law. But in addition to this, there are some other angles also we need to look at when we change the campaign finance law. Now, for example, the last presidential elections, when we start this campaign sealing exercise, most of the candidates, they have already completed their campaign halfway through. Some of them are more than that. So I don't know how we can do this, but this is apply only once you become a candidate. But the political parties candidate, they know that they are contesting elections, they will prepare much ahead of the elections. So we should at least have a legal framework to consider this 6 months prior to the real elections.
Right, not just after the nominations.
Yeah. So you should declare your nominations at least 6 months prior to the date.
Right.
So then there can be a mechanism to monitor their expenditure. That's one thing. And the authority, the legal authority should goes to the elections management, but not for the police. And last 3 elections, what we learn, all these candidates, they have submit some report mostly, but there is no mechanism to check whether they have given true information or not.
Now let me ask you about that. Now, if you go to the website of the Colombo Stock Exchange and you look at any company, you have the quarterly financials, the annual reports, and so on, and they are pretty much the same. Whatever the company is, there is a certain accounting standard which is globally recognized, and that is what our accountants in Sri Lanka are using. But in the case of these candidates, what I saw of some of these campaign finance reports, some have given very exhaustive reports, others have just written one page. So don't
the election commission accepted because there is no mechanism to do.
So don't we need an accounting standard here?
Exactly. Actually, at least my proposal is, original proposals also were there, at least for the major elections. I don't know, the local election may be difficult, little difficult. It has to be audited by someone. It should be signed by the auditors. Otherwise, you can just, last presidential election, some candidate, as you said, they just submit 2-page document. So the Elections Commission has taken it as the right documents, because there is no mechanism to check those informations, and they can't challenge it, and we do not know whether they exceed the limit also.
Exactly.
Once you give the document, you will keep it somewhere and you will publish it somewhere. There is no mechanism to check whether you exceed the money. So we have done some random audit, random checking. We have learned one candidate for the last parliamentary elections, he has exceeded the amount. He has exceeded the amount. I think what happened was, he has the ceiling he has taken some different district, but he contests in a different district. He matched with that some. It's a mistake.
Yes.
So but end of the day, the publicized report says he has exceeded the limit, but there is no legal framework to take some actions.
So then what's the point of, if you have a ceiling, a candidate who exceeds that obviously needs to be disqualified.
Exactly.
But if there is no legal framework, then it's an exercise in futility.
It should be, the initial issue now, the presidential elections, I think 12 candidates has not submitted their report. Now police has to take legal actions.
Yes, that's another aspect. Now
that's what I'm trying to explain.
You mentioned that the police have to get in on it, the Attorney General and so on.
Yeah.
Why doesn't the Elections Commission have a legal department of its own?
That's a different case. The Elections Commission should have a legal department. The authority should vested with the Elections Commission. That's one area. But my initial point here, those who have not submit their income and expenditure report within the given time frame, they should be automatically disqualified. Now what happened was, now each and every case, police has to consult the Elections Commission. They have to get report from the district elections commissioners, consult the attorney's department, file the case. For the local elections, around 2000 cases. Parliamentary elections, 1200 cases. Presidential elections, around 12 cases. So it is wasting time of the attorney's department, wasting time of the police, and wasting money and the cost and the court time, because the court is unable to cope up with the present load. So we are going to top up some unnecessary cases also.
Thousands of cases.
Thousands of the cases. So the law is very clear. If you have not submit, you are supposed to submit your report within 21 days. So if you are not submitting your report within 21 days, there is no need to go to court and get their opinion. It's a real violations. But unfortunately, existing law says you have to file the case. So these things need to be addressed immediately. But unfortunately, in this country, most of these issues we are talking during elections period, but in between we are silenced, and the next elections also we are again repeating the same issue.
Which is why it's important for gentlemen such as yourself to come on programs like this and discuss far beforehand. Right. Then you mentioned to me before the program that 56 councillors from the who are elected, who are supposed to be elected from the wards in the last election, the local government election, 56 have not yet been appointed. Could you talk about that? And because now it's been so many months since the election, and you know, this is the sovereignty of the people. We expect our representatives, whichever party they may be, to now be at work rather than you know nobody being there. Because that was the whole point. For years, we went for several years without councillors, and now we need those councillors there. So what's happened? Why aren't these guys being appointed?
I'm happy to raise two issues. I mean, there are among many others.
Many issues.
Now, the elections we had in May. Now we are in August, almost 3 months. There are 3 local councils still we couldn't appoint chairmen, but people elected their representative. Sitawaka, I think Manatha Villuwa and Palmadulla, or some places, 3 places at least. That is the real challenge for people's sovereignty. People has done their job. People elect their representative. After 2.5 years, they get a chance to mark their ballot and select their local councillors for their day-to-day service. But the authority and the elected councillors were not able to discuss and resolve their problem and elect their chairmen. That's one thing. And the second point, as these 56 councillors, actually they are not elected people, they came through this second list, but the selected people, which is responsibility goes to the political party secretaries mainly. So they have not nominate their representative. 56 the candidates nominations as selected members of those councils, not done by the political party. Actually, this is also violations of the people's sovereignty. I mean, we are thinking now whether we can file the case against the political party. At least there should be a system then, after certain time frame, okay, 2 weeks, 1 month, election commission should have authority to nominate somebody from the list. There should be a mechanism to do that. Then the elections commission will do that. But existing system, the elections commission doesn't have authority. So it can be next 1 year or entire 4 year, the political party can do the same.
Well, that's quite ridiculous. And why is this happening? Why are parties not, sending in the names of their councillors? Is it because of internal politics within those parties?
I think, in my understanding, the organizers and the candidate, because there were 2 lists, the contest list and the second list, there are some issues with these candidates and the organizers, and sometimes maybe the party wanted to appoint A, the organizer wanted to appoint B. Sometime the area people, the elected people, those who are in the list, so everyone wanted to become councillors. They may have only 1 or 2 chance. So this conflict, but this is mainly because of their internal democracy, internal party democracy. You and me can't help on that. The law can't help on that sometime. So that is the sad part of this country.
But I think this is where we need deadlines.
Exactly. That's the legal point. We need to have a deadline. After certain time frame, the elections commission should have authority. That's the authority actually which we can identify at the moment. Then they will appoint the councillors. So we need to address these issues before next local elections.
Right. And let's get to that point. And this is our final question because we are almost out of time, Rohana. The provincial council elections, we expect that to be the next election. What is the situation there? We're not hearing a lot about it. The ruling party has said that it will have the election, but there's no set date, and we're not even sure. Is it, I mean, it's certainly unlikely this year, but will it happen next year?
Most probably. We have written to the president and we have written to the subject minister also. So our demand also go for a soon elections. I mean, we know that the present government were not responsible for this delay. That was, it has happened during Yahapalana government. We know what is the real reason behind that. It's 100% political reasons. During that time, they don't want to have a provincial elections. They want to delay. So that is why they brought this 17th reforms agenda and introduced this women's quota, and with that they introduced a completely new system. So this is a long story. But the present government, and now they have become to power. People select these people to maintain law and order, governance and everything. So now they don't have any excuse. We can excuse for certain time frame because we had 3 consecutive elections now, and the country may not ready for one more elections this year because of the financial crisis also. But early next year and the next year budget, the government, I'm sure the government will allocate the money, and we demand to allocate the money for provincial elections, and at the same time they need to change the legal framework also. The easiest way is to go back to the previous electoral system temporarily. Now there are 2 private member bill has brought to the parliament. One was brought by Mr. Sumandiran and the second one was brought by Mr. Sanakyan. Now it is, I think it's under the local government ministry observations level. So they can internet this private member bill, or government can bring the new bill and go back to the previous electoral system, and easily we can have a provincial elections. If not, the government can come up with some solution for this delimitation issue. But if we select the delimitations, go through the delimitation mechanism, there should be a time frame. Otherwise, we know that we have enough experience, delimitation will hang on for years and years again. So our kind request to the president and the government to seriously consider to have a provincial election somewhere in early next year. If you don't like to have a provincial system, that's a different case. Then we have to change the constitutions, and we have to have a public consultations, and collectively we can decide whether we go with the provincial elections or whether we'll empower the local council mechanism, whatever. But until we change the constitutions, we have to follow that.
Right. A lot to think about and talk about and take action on as well. My thanks to Rohana Hettiarachchie, Executive Director of PAFREL, for being with us this evening. Thank you very much, Rohana.
Thank you, Naresh.
And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening.